Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming. It's great to see you all here today. I've been asked to say a few words by way of introduction because I'm, in fact, a bridge between the two companies organizing this webinar today. Just a few months ago, I led the AutoEntry team at Sage. In fact, I was involved with the product for years before that, even before it was acquired by Sage in 2019. Over those years, I saw it become one of the market leaders in data entry automation for accountants, bookkeepers, and businesses. And now I'm helping my new colleagues at Crezco as its operations director. Crezco is a payments provider and automation service and has recently won many awards. It was Xero UK and EMEA's Emerging App of the Year. And as if that wasn't enough, it won Financial Services Firm of the Year at the British Stat Awards recently. And 2022, it won Real-Time Payment Solution for Business in the Paytech Awards. Not that AutoEntry doesn't have its own trophy cabinet. AutoEntry has quite a full cabinet, has had many awards in the past, and recently won Data and Expenses App of the Year at the ICB Luca Awards. It's because of this that I can tell you're in very safe hands today with Brian and Max, and in for what I'm sure will be a very entertaining 45 minutes. These are two people who are true experts in their field with many years of experience between them. And I'm very happy to say that we're joined by Alison Edward, founder and proprietor of Simply Balanced Solutions, and someone who describes herself as a Disney-loving bookkeeper. So perhaps we could start with you, Alison. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Hi, I'm Alison Edward, and as Sean said, I run Simply Balanced Solutions. We've been going nearly 10 years now. We're a bookkeeping firm with a team of about to be 5. We've just got a new starter. We use both AutoEntry and Crezco, which is possibly why I've been invited along to make life easier for our clients. When I say I'm a Disney-loving bookkeeper, that means I like to spend my holidays in a Disney park on a Disney cruise ship. It's my specialist subject if people ask me about it. But yeah, we like to use tech to try and make life easier for our clients, and Crezco and AutoEntry are 2 apps that we've found to do that for us.
Great. Thanks, Alison. Now, I can certainly tell you a lot about Brian, but it's better coming from him directly. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself and also tell us a bit about AutoEntry?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. How you doing, everyone? Brian Carolyn. I'm one of the product owners here at AutoEntry. I've been with AutoEntry for, I think, about 7 or 8 years now. Pretty much when AutoEntry first launched. Worked in several roles within the company. So currently on the product team, helping to build and develop great new features. I'm really looking forward to this webinar. It's a great kind of combination between 2 great apps. I'm hoping you'll enjoy what you hear. Cheers.
Thanks, Brian. And last but not least, Max, can you please tell us about yourself and also Crezco?
Yes, definitely. So I'm the VP of Sales here at Crezco. I was one of the first employees, so it was just 4 of us in a room, going from accounts receivable all the way into accounts payable. I was previously at Dext. I know, boo, especially on this webinar. Maybe I'll catch myself up afterwards. But yes, I kind of seen the whole purchase automation as a whole, going from the pieces of paper all the way into now the payment side. So Crezco, we're an all-in-one payment platform going from accounts receivable to accounts payable to international payments. And that should cover most of it.
Great. Thanks, Max. And now just a little bit about how the webinar will run. We've decided against sticking to a script. Instead, it's built around a series of talking points covering the many different aspects of adding value through accounts payable technology. Max, Brian, and Alison will discuss these informally and provide their expert insights wherever necessary. So there'll be a Q&A session at the end, but we'd love you to enter questions in the Q&A box as we go along. And if we see them, we will try and address them as we go. So over to you, Max.
Perfect. Yes, thanks, Sean. So yeah, as Sean said, feel free to pop in the Q&A box. I do have the control, so bear with me if I click on the wrong things as we go along, but we'll try and cover them at the end. We've got 3 polls along the webinar to keep it a little bit more interactive, and then we will run through more as a discussion panel between the 3 of us. So the first poll that we have today, if I can find the action box, is what does purchase automation mean to everyone? So let me just launch that while I just chat around. So you should be able to see that on your screen now. So especially covering what is the main pay points, what does it involve? We've seen that it's evolved essentially over the last couple of years as well, going from just pieces of paper to all the payments now, and Alison has done a bit of both, and Brian has always seen it from straight at the beginning, especially with what I saw as well at Dex, is all the MTD compliance and whatnot. So perfect. So I think we've got most of the answers now. I think everybody can see. So I've got 30. Yeah, I think that's about 100% answered. I'll just end that poll and you should be able to see scores. If you don't, please scream or shout.
Not yet, anyway.
Oh, there we go.
Yep, there we go.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'll hand over to you, Brian. I mean, you've, as you said, been there for 6 or 7 years, but what is really purchase automation? Where did it come from when you started?
So very much it started with our founder was Brendan Woods, and he was working in a bank here in Dublin. We are an Irish-based company, but working in a bank here in Dublin, and he was kind of shocked when he saw accountants and bookkeepers who were working in the bank and basically just doing manual data entry all day long. They sat there with bank statements page by page, entering it all into Excel or any other program that they were using at the time. And the whole idea came from that there must be a way. And the famous phrase, there's got to be an app for that. And there must be a way that we can use technology to extract what's on the paper and present it back in a useful way, not just extract it into an Excel spreadsheet, which still requires a bit of work. So it started from there. And what we're trying to combat is those traditional piles of paper. So your customers that come in on a monthly or quarterly basis, and they're just bringing in their shopping bag full of paper or the shoe box full of paperwork, and all, it's all through the years. Every accountant or bookkeeper that's with us here today will know that it peaks and troughs. So you'll have month end, quarter end, year end, especially when you've all your customers dropping in all of their paperwork at the same time. And every practice around the country and around the world struggles at that period, trying to get all this raw information, which is vital in order to do the books, getting it into a piece of software. It could be Excel, it could be into an accounting software like Sage, QuickBooks, Xero, and getting that raw data into the software itself. So AutoEntry was built and designed to handle those scraps of paper, primarily invoices and receipts, where you can snap them on a phone, you can scan them on a scanner, or email them straight in. And using all of our machine learning and AI and everything that's built into the background, we'll extract what's on the page and present it back to you within AutoEntry. As we'll see, we'll do a quick demo later on. But just to present it to you in a usable format that's easy to use, easy to understand, and at the click of a button, we'll send it straight through to your accounts package. So the history of it is, as everyone might know, it started off with literal books, filling in your credit account and your debit account, moved on to Excel, which became very powerful when Excel first launched. And since the kind of 80s, early 90s, it's moving into, or has moved into, cloud, well, some desktop originally, and cloud-based accounting packages, again, such as Sage, QuickBooks, and Xero, which allows you to do it very quick and easy. And there's all the engines and calculations and everything are done in the background as well, just to make life that little bit easier. But you still have to get that raw piece of paper onto that software. And that's where AutoEntry steps in and does a huge amount of work for you, specifically just trying to remove that pain point of the huge big bulk of paperwork that you have to deal with all of your clients, each and every one of your clients, and trying to make it as easy as possible, as efficient as possible, and effectively buying you time. So you get more time in the practice, you get more time to do the actual job, you get more time to talk to your customers. So piece of software like AutoEntry really will speed up, make your practice much more efficient. And automate obviously is on the screen. We will automate as much of that process as you want. Some customers use it very simply, some customers automate everything. And the goal is, I suppose, to have that kind of flow of data straight into your accounts package, without too many click points, too many touch points, and to make it as easy as possible.
Definitely. And that's, I mean, main reason for bringing on board, because two software providers can probably speak for days about themselves. But I guess in practice, like, how long have you been using purchase automation? What does it mean for you and your clients? And then we'll go on to the adoption just on the slide afterwards.
I think I've been using AutoEntry for about 6 or 7 years. I think I've been using it maybe longer than Brian's even been at AutoEntry. But we use it with most of our clients, some form of purchase automation. We use it in 2 ways. Some clients are brilliant. They snap everything, they forward their emails, they do all of that. Others, not so brilliant. And so we will actually do the automation bit for them and let them post it to us in a free post envelope, and then we'll scan it and automate it. Because, you know, as simple as it should be, you know, if you can take a picture of your dog and post it on Instagram, you should be able to take a picture of a receipt and post it to AutoEntry. But the reality is lots of them don't manage it and they lose it. So, you know, we'll step in and do that, but it does make life so much easier. We've also found, you know, another added bonus is if the dreaded HMRC do come and knock on your door, all the bits of paper are attached in the software. We don't do limited company year ends. When we hand it on to the accountant, all of the purchase invoices are attached where we've had them in the software, and that makes all of those processes a lot slicker as well. So it cuts down on the paper, makes it easier for collaboration, as well as making the data much more useful for our clients.
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting one, because a lot of people see the main purchase automation as just that part, but also, and hence why we asked for the poll, is the newcomers such as Crezco, we like to think, is a lot of people are asking more so about looking at an end-to-end journey. So as you said, is maybe you're looking after getting the receipts and invoices into a software, but what happens afterwards? Am I sending it to my clients? Am I creating pay runs for them? And that's what we like to dive into a little bit today as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of clients that still run some sort of purchase system, which is either a stack of invoices on their desk that, you know, they will then deal with when they've got around to paying it, or they've got some flagging system in their email, or maybe it's just whichever supplier phones them and shouts the loudest. You know, there's a lot of them don't have any real system involved in it, which then causes stress. Their suppliers are cross, their cash flow gets affected. So, you know, it's trying to say to them, it's, you know, like anything for us, we have to sell it to our clients that there's other advantages of it, because if it is all in the software, they can then run the report and go, okay, that's what's all due for payment this Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it leads on to kind of the next slide that we had is especially, let me grab that, is really why should we embrace purchase automation? I used to have a lot of these discussions back when I was working with Dext. Is will it take away from the practice? As will you lose out fees? And it will be interesting to get both of yours more updated views and what you're getting. Should I do it for my clients? Should my clients be doing it? What happens if the clients don't want me anymore as looking after their bookkeeping and their whole purchase side? So I don't know who wants to.
Well, we bill on fixed fees, so being more efficient, you know, shouldn't cost us money. You know, so that side of the automation, and I've been having this discussion for years again with people about this. You know, there is that fear that it will take our jobs, but the AI is going to have to get incredibly clever still to know whether that meal, for example, is client entertaining, staff entertaining, subsistence. You know, Amazon, who knows what they're buying on Amazon? You know, that could be so many different codes, back codes, cost of sales, stationery, personal. So, you know, there's always going to be, I think, an element of personal, and it varies from client to client. You know, just because it's cost of sales in client A doesn't mean it is in client B. And so, you know, there's always going to be an element of human intervention and us using our skills. Clients some of them like to think they can do it. They can do it to an extent, but then we have to go in and tidy it up for them. So, you know, why should they be wasting their time doing this bit when they could be going and making more money or enjoying their evenings?
Yeah, I must say, like, we obviously talking to bookkeepers and accountants through the years, and certainly in person when we do the kind of exhibitions and stuff, it's amazing. Like, no one enjoys doing the data entry. Obviously, that's where AutoEntry is most concerned with. We did have one time, I was doing a talk up in Belfast, and an elderly lady and gentleman at the back put up their hand going, "Oh, no, we like it. We do it every Saturday, and we sit there and we do all the typing up, and we love it, and then we move on." But you know, it's extremely rare. So kind of the in the suggestion of whether or not the practice takes over running AutoEntry, or charging for it, or the client does, we have a massive mix. Not one solution works for every practice, and not one solution works for every client as well. As Alison said earlier on, some of her clients, they leave it to, look, just post it in, give us the paperwork, we'll look after it. Some of the clients are snapping away on the phone. Alison, you mentioned if you can take a photo of your cat and put it on Instagram, you can use something like AutoEntry. You'd be surprised how many photos of cats we get.
Well, yeah, there is
the,
some background detail we get in some of the photographs that we would rather not get. I've seen more hairy toes in pictures than we need to see.
And what back code does that go down to?
Yeah, well, I think there's a risk assessment that hasn't been filed on that one.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so, you know, any practice or any business that's looking to embrace some automation, and the word automation can scare people off sometimes, I find, where they're worried that, you know, they've no control over it. As Alison said, there has to be some human intervention at some stage. No program is going to know how you want to categorize it. It could be the same supplier for 3 different clients, and it all gets categorized in different ways. But like, even a very small piece of automation, if you're dealing with one client and you have an invoice from Amazon, let's just say they all go to the same nominal account, as soon as you categorize it, we'll remember it for you. So next time we see an invoice from Amazon or from electricity supplier or utilities or whatever else, we'll remember what you categorized it as last time. And even that very small bit of automation, in inverted commas, just speeds up your day. Even that small little bit where you're not having to select a category, you're not having to select a VAT code for every piece of information. As you do it, we'll learn and we'll fill it in for you next time. Just speeds up life a little bit.
All about the marginal gains.
Exactly. And I think also as well, what a lot of people would like to think about is not only just basically getting the stuff into the system as quick as possible, whether that's Xero, whether that's QuickBooks, whether that's Sage, but it's the actual value of the data and the precision of the data that you're getting in, which is always something to look out for when you're looking at an OCR technology. Is a lot of that data that is being fed into Xero and QuickBooks and so on is used by tons of other apps, including Crezco, to do the payments. Obviously, if we pick up a wrong Xero and you send £100,000 instead of 10 grand, that might create a little bit of a problem. And especially when you're probably keying in thousands and thousands of invoices manually every month, your fingers might get a bit numb. There's manual error inputs. You might put in the wrong account number, the right sort code. It's something that people need to look at, and also references, which we want to pick up. How does the supplier know that you sent the right payment, right? Even cash flow forecasting apps, I know that they're very data heavy and they lean on the data, so you only get as good as what you get out of what you put in through the apps. And you also touched on a good point there, Alison, is you use a fixed fee. Do you want to delve into a little bit more in terms of how you would price out, I guess, the app suite and the service that you provide on that side?
Yeah, so we use Go Proposal, advertising, another bit of Sage software, but we base it on volume of transactions. So, you know, we have brackets, so it's how many purchase invoices are we processing through AutoEntry, and it's in brackets. And so, you know, 1 to 50 is a price, you know, 51 to 100, or, you know, so we just bracket it on that. And that's, you know, and we review that quarterly with clients, and if it's going up, their price goes up. If it's going down, you know, there might be seasonal, then their price gets adjusted accordingly. And we find that's much more transparent for them. They know what they're paying and we know what we're earning. And there's incentives for us to get more efficient, because otherwise the efficiencies just actually mean you earn less money. But our efficiencies also, help the client, because it means we process stuff much quicker into the software, which gives them more up-to-date financial records to make decisions with and plan their cash flow. We can tell them what their VAT is, and by processing and attaching all the purchase receipts, it gives them, a kind of more confidence in the data they've got, rather than, if it's all just typed into a spreadsheet, or, before we were attaching PDFs into all the software, you just got a list of transactions. You haven't got any evidence to what backs that, other than maybe, 40 Arch files in a cupboard per year, which, time is money, and its space is money as well, isn't it? So, trying to find all those other things that helps clients, we find they like that fact that they then don't have to worry about the paperwork. We've got a copy of it for them as well, is another thing that they like.
And do you force a certain type of client to have to use that type of service with you? Do you put everybody on and it's optional? Is there any particular clients that you like to put on?
If they're VAT registered, they have to be on it, because, because otherwise we don't get any sight of the paperwork, so we don't even know if it's got VAT on it or not.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, we don't know if they've got the correct paperwork for it, or is it in the person's name. Just because it's a Jewson's receipt doesn't mean it's actually been bought for the business or whatever. So it's finding, those bigger clients have to. The smaller ones that don't meet the VAT threshold, we don't necessarily force them. But if they are using software already, most of them are quite keen to do it. We haven't found anyone we've got some who would prefer to use the OCR technology within the accounting softwares, but it is nowhere near a patch on the independent OCR softwares. So we would rather they didn't.
And then the other potential add-ons, I'm guessing that's kind of like a core functionality. Things like ourselves and Crezco and the payment side. Do you have that as an add-on for your clients? Yeah.
So that's an add-on. I mean, we always are looking for bits of software or automations that can benefit our clients. So with Crezco, the first side was, receiving money. Just being able to put that link on your invoice makes life so much easier. But now with the payables, for clients that we offer payroll to, we can really easily create the file in BrightPay and just upload it as the payable. So, that's another, nobody wants their staff paid the wrong amount. So, if we've pulled, and I'm sure anyone on here who runs payroll knows clients aren't always reliable at reading the number on a payslip. So, that's another, we just offer it as an option to all of them. Some of them find it hard to let go of the payments. They don't want to, but this is a more secure way of doing it. So they're keener at that.
Yeah, that's what we tend to see as well, is they just want a reliable way, making sure everything's hard coded. I can't make any mistakes, and the payments go to the right people. And that all comes down to, have you put in the right data as well from the end-to-end journey, whether that's bookkeeping or even payroll, right?
Yeah.
So we've just got another little poll kind of linked to the purchase automation side. So I'll just launch this while we run that through. So I'll let you guys vote, and then we'll just cover a little bit more in terms of the applicational side of what do I need to look at in terms of when I'm evaluating purchase automation, and then what should I implement and how should I implement it? And then we'll just jump into a couple of live demos for those. So I'll just let these run for a little bit more. It's interesting to see. It's interesting nobody gets chased by their client suppliers. I don't know if that's something that you get chased for, Alison, or is the business owner?
I think it's probably more the business owner, but then we sometimes get some pass it on to us because they've got no decent record of what is actually owed to the supplier. So sometimes they're convinced they've already made the payment.
Yeah.
And, they haven't got the statement or they haven't got the right paperwork. So then we end up having to go back through to find out, well, this is what you've paid and this is what you've given us.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just leave that in the background. I'll just go to the next slide where we're here, especially when we're kind of evaluating purchase automation. It'd be good to kind of understand with you, Brian, and Alison, is what, because we can see here there's fair equal split between it will help just me as a practice, but also it might help my clients. What do you look for first? Do you implement it as a practice first, or do you go straight in, I want my clients to start using it, I should force them down that road?
Well, certainly, when we talk about if a practice is starting to use a product like AutoEntry, or of course there is competitors. We've mentioned Dext earlier on. Our biggest customers all started off only using it with 1 or 2 clients, just to confirm and to verify that it is actually going to do what we told them it would, but also it's going to satisfy their needs and it's going to kill their pain points that they've identified. One thing we'd always say, we like to think that our pricing is very transparent. It's all on the website. It's relatively cheap, cheaper than our competitors, which is always good. But it's not always the first place to look. As Alison mentioned, some accounting packages have OCR extraction software built into the packages, but they're generally quite basic. They'll just do a quick extraction off a piece of paper and they leave it to you to figure out what's going on and what numbers are needed and everything else. So there can be, if you go for the cheapest, being free, comes with the software, it has drawbacks because you still have to do quite a bit of work with it. And it's always, we'd always say, don't just base it purely on price. Certainly ourselves, and I know most of our competitors all have free trials. They can use it for a couple of days or for a couple of weeks. You can try it out. You can make sure it actually does what we said it would do. But even at that, it's difficult to make a decision because you're going to be implementing a piece of software that you're going to use for, excuse me, you're going to use for next couple of years potentially. And just from a little free trial can be difficult, but we'll always say anyone who's hesitant or nervous or unsure, just start it off with 1 or 2 of your clients, get used to the process, get used to how it works. You'll find you're changing your process all of a sudden with those clients because it's now running much more efficiently, and then you can roll it out to the rest of the clients. So it's always, have a look around, what pain points you want to solve, and all the products, and not just in data extraction, but all the apps that you can look at for any job or process that you need to solve, they'll always have pluses and minuses, and it's just trying to figure out which one is ideal for you.
It's so long I've been using AutoEntry, I can't actually remember what process I went through to use it. But I mean, some of it is based on price, and as Brian said, transparent pricing, AutoEntry. Others offer a fixed price. So, it might depend on your client base. It might depend, if you've got high volume, are you happier to be on, putting on a fixed price, or are you happy to take the variation in credits, or, it might be to do with the number of users you need in there. They've all got slightly different features. And some of it, it's a bit like Apple and Android. Some of it will literally come down to what you prefer. Some people really like certain interfaces. They all do similar. Some do it better than others. Like, we've found AutoEntry just works for us. We've liked it. We've tried others and don't get on with them as well. So, we would always put clients on AutoEntry because it works for our practice. But some of that is going to be personal choice.
Yeah. I think it's also, when I was discussing it, we still have these discussions, is are you going to be using it as an internal tool or also a client-facing tool? Because what you want to make sure of, especially with the apps and scanning, is how easy is it to actually onboard my client to take, as you were saying, take a picture. On Instagram is really easy. There's a button, you click it, posted, right? Does the software do what it says on the tin for a practice, but also from a client perspective? Because the needs are going to be very different.
Yes. Yeah. And also, is the support useful? Can you get in touch with someone if there's an issue, and things? So, you have to find out what works.
Yeah. Would you
for you.
recommend probably trying it out as a practice only, internal first and then clients, or try a bit of both at the same time, or just go, here's a piece of kit, Mr. Client, try it out?
I think if you haven't tried it at all, then without having to play with it yourself, then it is always a bit trickier to sort of help clients problem solve and sell it to them. But most of us have got, you know, a couple of clients who maybe like trying new things or whatever. So you can always find someone that maybe, you know, would be, you know, friendly trialer, rather than, you know, some are always going to be a bit more resistant or a bit less capable, shall we say, at using these things. So, you know, you can, I think you've got to try it from both sides.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to decide for you and your practice, do you think, well, actually we'll use one or two, or are we only going to use one? You know, some people are a single software only practice, we're not. You know, a lot of that is figuring out how you want to run your business, because you can become an expert in one, but if you then start jumping across others where they operate slightly differently, is that something that you don't want in your practice?
And it is very possible as well that you can implement product like AutoEntry. You can bring it into the practice. You can have it internally as one of your internal processes, and your clients don't interact with it. They don't have to use the app. They don't have to be emailing you. They can still come in with the shoebox full of paperwork. If you have a simple feed scanner, you scan all the pages through, click upload, and we look after the rest. So, you know, there can be a bit of panic sometimes, as Alison was saying. Some clients are like, "Oh God, apps! I'm not going near that." But you don't have to run the full gambit with all of your clients. So you can very easily, as I said, some of our biggest customers all started off just using one or two clients on AutoEntry, and you can very easily just use it purely internally. Your clients aren't even aware. So it can help sometimes when you're evaluating, that you're not expected to bring the client in straight away on day one. You can get up and running, you can get using the product, and as soon as you're comfortable, and as Alison said, some clients will be excited about new things and new toys, bring it out to them first, and you'll get used to it. The great thing about these apps, because they're all cloud-based, you can't break them. You know, we look after all that. We have all our servers and everything else. So we keep the product running. None of our users can break it. It doesn't go horribly wrong. Excuse me. And if anything does, you click a button and go back. So there is a safety net there as well.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of it here as well. We always explain is it's better to kind of have a play around for yourself. Look at an app that either you can do on a credit basis or have a free trial as well. It's like, can I get my hands on it? Do I have a spare piece of paper? Do I have a payment that I need to make to a supplier? See how easy it is, and will it sell for itself afterwards? So how easy can I implement it into my fee structure of, actually, Mr. Customer, what will make it stickier for you to stay with me is I'm giving you this whole suite of apps. I know about them. It doesn't matter what you're using as a bookkeeping software. Maybe you are single, just on like Xero, just on QuickBooks, just on Sage. Doesn't matter, but the whole suite of apps that you can have around it is quite cool. And I think where we see a lot is looking to how can you add value to the clients with the less hassle, less amount of hassle possible as well. And that all comes down to the software and their ease of use, which is, I think, fair to say, unless you disagree, Alison.
No, it's got to be easy to use and easy to connect to the different bits of software as well, because some things seem to take a lot more steps. There's, you know, how well do they talk to each other? Yeah.
And also, how easy is it to get the client on board if they do want to start using the software?
Yeah.
That's a big case that we get, because payments is always a bit of a funny one. Do you have access to the bank account? Do you not have access to the bank account? Does the client push it onto you that I don't want to be doing my payments? And how can you kind of mitigate that? So that's always an interesting part, especially with a lot coming up at the moment. Cool. I think we've covered most of what we want in terms of the implementation. So back onto ease of use, what we can do is we can run through a very quick demo, first of all, of AutoEntry, show you how it works, and then we'll just jump into Crezco, which will just be the payable side, on following on from Brian's demo. So let me stop sharing my screen, and then Brian, you should be able to take over. If you can't, just let me know.
Oh, host has disabled participant screen sharing.
I knew that was going to happen, so bear with me. All the fun of allowing people to share screens. Okay, I can't find it. Wait a minute. I'm just going to make you host, Brian, and then there you go. And then you can just ping it back over to me afterwards.
Super, yeah. So
Any questions in the meantime during demos? We'll cover everything afterwards in the Q&A. Just feel free to pop them in the box, and we'll try and cover as much as possible.
So you should be able to see my AutoEntry screen. Yes, no.
Yep.
Oh, nodding. Sorry. Yeah. Super. So this is kind of our main dashboard within AutoEntry. As a practice where you would have multiple clients, you simply add your clients, and all we actually need is a company name. Integrated to your accounting package, as we mentioned. We're not locked to any specific package, so you can integrate it to any accounting package that you're using, and it's on a client by client basis. As Alison said, you don't need to be a specific one software practice. You can use all the multiple pieces of software with AutoEntry as well. If I click into one of the companies, my demo account has no credit. I'll need to fix that. Didn't notice that. We've then 6 main boxes, essentially folders. So your purchase folder for all your purchase invoices, bills, receipts, and credit notes. We have a supplier statement folder. So when you're uploading all of your purchase invoices during the month, any supplier statements that your clients get, you can upload those, and we can actually do an automatic reconciliation between the statement and the invoices we've already received, highlighting very quick if you're missing an invoice, or if some of the figures don't match, or if there's any issue with the statement itself. Sales invoices, if any of your clients kind of use maybe a Word template or an Excel template for raising their invoices that they're giving their customers, we can also accept those. Obviously, we'll publish them through to the opposite side of the ledger. Bank statements, really big part of AutoEntry. Any paper statements, year-end customers, very small clients who, as Alison said, they might not necessarily have a piece of software, an accounting package that they're using, and you're working back from the bank statements. We can do a full extraction on those as well. We have an expense module built in that you can actually give access to your clients, where they can snap images of their receipts, add them into an expense report. There's a little approval process and everything built in there. And then we have what we call file management. If there's any other files, PDFs, bits of information that you want to save with all of the invoicing, you can use that there as well. If I jump into the purchases inbox, so as we receive your invoices, and it's very easy, uploading documents can be done either drag and drop. If you've scanned them and you've a PDF on your PC, you can simply drag and drop them. They can be emailed in, or of course using the phone app and snap the images and straight up. They'll then appear on this screen. So what we'll see here is the date on the invoice, the supplier name, and over the right hand side your currency, net, VAT, and total. So it's all laid out nice and simple. Empty drop down boxes. If it's a brand new supplier and we've no recognition of a company called Screwfix within, this one's connected to Sage, you can actually create a contact. So we'll create the contact for you in Sage or in your accounting package that you can now publish that invoice through to. Your full list of nominal accounts and your full list of VAT codes. So essentially you're only just using 3 drop down menus. As I mentioned, we'll even remember them for you. So if I just change this one as an example, it's recalculating everything. It'll ask us if we want to remember that VAT code or not. And every time then we get an invoice from Sound Supplies, we'll fill in these 3 drop-down menus for you. So even while there's 3 drop-down menus, you only have to use them once per supplier, which just speeds up the process. In order to publish them through, once all 3 categories are filled in, the little tick has gone green and you can click to publish, goes straight through to your accounting package. We can also, of course, click in to view the invoice itself using the view icon, and there's your original image, your original document. Clearly snap off through the phone app of the Vodafone bill that arrived in, and the full extraction that we've done on it. All these fields are editable if you need to. So the human interaction, we still need you to have a look and confirm, make sure everything's correct. Obviously, we verify all the figures for you before giving it back. But we'll also even go so far as if there's a tax summary on the invoice, such as this is obviously an Irish Vodafone invoice, so we pay 23% on the phone, 0% on the insurance. We'll automatically break it down for you. So if there's multiple VAT rates on the invoice, we'll give you a net VAT and total for the 0% and a net VAT and total for 20 or 23% as it is here. So even that little step, we're taking away that extra amount of work that you need to do on any invoice with multiple VAT rates on it. So as you go through, you can publish these. This was actually published already, so you can publish them. It'll bring up the next invoice on the list, and you can work through all the invoices manually one by one like that. Or indeed, on the list view within the inbox, you can check all the boxes down the left and publish them all in one go. So you can speed the process up like that. The little lightning bolt indicates that we can auto-publish. So you'll remember all your settings, turn on auto-publish, and every time we see an invoice from Zoom or Royal Mail as it is, we'll fire it straight through to the accounts package. We'll even give you warnings if there's any issue with an invoice. This one is a duplicate. So we've got a triplicate, duplicate check, which is always a mouthful. At the point of upload, at the point of us doing the extraction, and the point of publishing it through to the accounts package, we'll check at all three stages. Does this invoice already exist? Have we looked at it before? Is it already there? Again, just making sure the data that's within your accounts package is as accurate as possible. The other folders that we have, the sales obviously looks exactly like the purchases. Supplier statements wouldn't be used as much, more than likely, but a really simple, handy tool. If I jump straight into the reconciliation, we're matching off what's on the supplier statement to the invoices that are in auto entry, and you can clearly see if there's a gap, if there's one missing, and we even give you a couple of options on what you want to do next. So trying to speed up the process as much as possible. And finally, it's only just a very quick demo today, just to give you a quick look with our bank statement extraction, uploading the bank statements through the website. We can click to view the statement itself, and as anyone will recognize, a NatWest statement here and the full extraction that we've done on it, debit, credit, running balance, and even we'll extract the check numbers if there's check numbers present within the description there as well. So for those clients that might come in with 20, 30, 40 pages of bank statements, upload them, we'll do the full extraction, we verify all the figures, and then you can, excuse me, download it in whether it's an Excel sheet or in a format you can upload into your accounts package to make it as quick as possible. With auto entry, there's no charge or limit on the amount of users. So colleagues in the office, adding your clients, you've got full control over what they have access to. And finally, of course, the little bubble down the bottom right, our support team are always there, based in our office here in Dublin. Pop in any question, more than happy to help. And they'll come straight back to you as quick as possible. So not only that, of course, we have all the training. Our sales team can hook you up with any training before you get going. So you'll get the best benefit out of auto entry straight away from day one. And that's a quick run through, conscious of the time, but a quick introduction into what auto entry is. And of course, giving us a phone call, popping a message into our support team, they'll be able to get any of the guys onto you and be able to give you a proper look around as well.
Thanks, Brian. Alison, is there any favourite parts of auto entry that what changed?
One of the things that changed my life. Quite a big ask. We just find it really easy to use. And one of the things I love is it knows whether it's a multi-page document or not. We can just drag and drop it in. You know, we do bulk scans here and it picks it up automatically. We actually use the sales quite a lot. We've got quite a few clients who got some care clients, and they have to use their bespoke software to generate their sales invoices. And we find that the easiest way to get it all into the software. I've also got a client who uses expenses, which seems to work quite well for them. They've found that system quite good for all their staff. But we just find it really simple to use. The bit that it memorizes is enough for us, and it still gives you the ability to, you know, cast your eye over it before you hit publish.
that was the main key area that I used to run through as well. Cool.
Do I need to hand this back to you?
I will
or-
reclaim all my
Yeah, cool.
straight away. Cool. So we'll just run through Crezco. It shouldn't take me more than a couple of minutes. So kind of linking to, can you guys see this screen? Cool. So linking to kind of this whole purchase automation side, Crezco was really built more so to dealing with your payments in, but also out. I won't cover the accounts receivable side. We can basically collect payments for free domestically, whether you're sending invoices to your clients here in the UK or in Ireland. So if it's Ireland to Ireland, it's free as well. But if you're sending invoices internationally, you can also collect from pretty much anywhere in the world in 34 different currencies. We can say, okay, that's aside. But what we'll focus on now is the accounts payable side, especially to what Brian said, is if you've got that all of that data into QuickBooks, into Xero, into Sage, what you can do is then pull that through into Crezco, create the pay runs for your clients or for yourself, and then send a link to the client. So how would that look? So in the accounts payable tab, you would first of all link the client's bank account. It's very easy. It's like when you're linking a bank feed into Sage, into Xero, into QuickBooks. That will pull through all the details. So every bank has different ways of processing bulk payments. Just depends on how we basically split those. We just need to know which bank the client is paying from. So to import the payments, we have various functions, various direct feeds. At the moment, Xero is the main one that we can pull details in from, but we are working on Sage and QuickBooks, and that will pull through all the awaiting payment bills, especially if you have an authorization level within in your bookkeeping system, but you can also have it in Crezco as well. So you can drag and drop also if it's a payroll file. I know that Addison did one today for payroll. It's very simple, just drag and drop, and then it will create all the payments for you. That will then populate your main screen here. So as you can see here, I've got a few that are for monthly pay. You can use the search box here if you know which bills you're looking for, and then which status they are. You can filter them through via status. So say, for example, I now want to create a pay run to send to my client, and this is super important. You don't have to have access to the bank account to be able to make these payments or to set this up for your client. So it just takes the risk away from it all. So here I'm going to be setting up 6 bills, so 6 payroll, and then choose the bank account that I want to pay from. On this account, I have quite a few accounts set up, but we're going to be paying from a Barclays business account today. And what's super cool as well is you can schedule these payments. So if you're, for example, doing payroll, but also looking at bills, maybe for the week afterwards, you can send multiple links to your clients and say, hey, I've set this up for next week. I've set this up for week number 32. I've set this up for next month. Don't worry, it won't leave your account until that day. But in this case, we'll just do an immediate payment. So the pay run is going to be salary payment, and then just click save. That will then take you to the pay run tab immediately. So you can either start the payment or share the payment link. You can come back later, find your pay run. So here, and you can see the date created, and then you have a couple of options. If I have access to the bank account, I can click start the payment, and that'll go through the flow. If I don't have access to the bank account, this is where the authorization flow comes in, is I can share this payment link. So maybe what you can say is, hey, Mr. Customer, here is the link that you need to click on to process these payments, and then it will take them through the flow, which will be exactly like this if I can grab it. So I am now the customer that's clicked on the link. I can see clearly who I'm paying, what I'm paying, and then I can drop down into the references as well if I need to, and then how much is going to be coming out of my bank account straight away. I can then click confirm. It will take me straight through into my Barclays app to redirect. So we do have 2 levels of security here. You have to have access to the bank account. I have to be able to log in to the current bank account to make these payments. I can't just have access to Crezco dashboard, click start payment, and start making payments out of my client's bank account. There's just that extra level of security there. So Addison, I don't know if you do both for your client, access to your client, but most cases we have clients that don't want access, so they just send the payment link.
Yeah, I mean, we would prefer not to have access,
Yeah.
you know, because the security reasons for the client, you know, it's more secure for them. They need to have some control over it. So, you know, and some are obviously quite rightly don't want us having access. And a lot of banks now are very funny about adding extra people on to be able to make payments.
Yeah. Exactly that. And where I just reverted there is, say, for example, if I clicked on it, it started to authorize, maybe it got sent to 2 directors at the same time, you won't be able to do a duplicate payment until one at least times out. So it takes 7 minutes for this payment to time out to make sure that we have enough time between, has this payment actually left the account? Because we're using open banking payments and fast payments, payments leave the account straight away. So we get a yes, no at the point of payment. If it says back no, you can try the payment again and so on, but we do have the support side. It will then show as paid. If it's bills that have been pulled through from the direct integration that we have with Xero, we'll mark them as paid, assign the payment to them. It's just ready to reconcile. We're working on Sage and QuickBooks. If it's payroll, you can then just update the payroll file as needed. Side note, we can do this in 34 different currencies. So no matter if it's got, as we've got pay runs here that have GBP payments, but also dollar payments. We can have euro payments, dollar payments, and GBP payments all in the same pay run. And all the client needs to do is authorize it once, depending on the size of the batch. Clients don't need to have access. Most of us do ask them to have access just so they can connect the bank account. But after that, they can be as hands-off as possible. You can create all these payment runs for your clients and just send them to them as and when they need it. So that was pretty much a very quick tour of Crezco. We can go a little bit more in depth. For us, it works on a fixed fee model per client, but you have unlimited users after that. Doesn't matter how many payments they're doing or as many users as they have. Cool. So I think we covered most of it. I'll jump into the Q&A box, unless if anybody has anything else that they want to cover quickly. Cool. All right, let me jump into the Q&A. We'll start from the first questions. Paul's asked, probably for the auto entry, can automation work with a supplier such that they get their invoice to us into our system? So I'm guessing what Paul's asking here is, can we give access to the supplier to automatically send the invoices through?
We wouldn't generally. You could give a supplier as a user, give them access, but there's no particular need. If they have PDF invoices already, you can just give them, there's a bespoke email address we create for every client in every folder. So you can just give the supplier the email address for the purchases folder. And as soon as they've their invoice ready, they just send it off on an email and it'll appear within AutoEntry for you then.
Perfect. And is there authorization flows before submitting? So can automation help with authorization before invoices are entered or paid?
We don't. We've been asked about it a number of times. We don't have any kind of approval process or authorization process built in. We have looked at it, to be honest. Don't have plans at the minute to build one, but it is potential in the future, just not at the minute.
I guess you can always review what is posted when you're in auto entry, so the client can submit it, but it doesn't mean that it's posted towards the bookkeeping journal.
Absolutely, yes. And one thing we'll always be at pains to point out is, even if the clients are uploading into AutoEntry, it doesn't go into the accounts package until you've reviewed it or you've published it through. So you can, if you wish, like for example, the Vodafone bill, utility bill, it's always going to the same nominal. It's always going to be the same VAT code. We verify the figures, so you can be confident that when the client snaps a photo on their phone app, clicks upload, we'll do all the extraction, categorization, and continue it on into the accounts package. But again, that level of automation, that automatic flow straight through, entirely up to you as the user, and it's on a per supplier basis. So some suppliers you can have it flow straight through, others you can have it stop within AutoEntry as normal, and you can review it before going forward.
Perfect. It also linked to a question that popped up is there a way of adding lines to add a description / narrative for the clients to see within AutoEntry?
Absolutely. You can add them manually if you wish, or there is a option that we just call line item extraction. You can check the box again per supplier if required, and we'll do the full line item extraction off every line that's on the invoice. We get it most common with the cash and carry. Oh, the supplier name's gone out of my head now.
Someone like Bookers or Macro.
Bookers. That's it. Yeah. They would be Booker's invoices would be by far and away the most common supplier we see that has the full line item extraction turned on.
Awesome. Cool. So we've just got one as well from Raymond about, I believe it's payables, but to international payments. So a client in Ireland sells tools to individuals, groups in the US. Some customers make single payments, others make several payments of varying amounts, and they pay within X amount of days. At the moment, they're going through Stripe. It's something that comes up for us quite often. If you're receiving payments domestically, it's completely free. So Stripe now is at 2.9% for a small business, quite a lot of money on the bottom line. We tend to add the payment link straight away. If it's for payables, same again, is you're paying a fixed fee per month of about £15, but you can make as many domestic payments as possible as you want. And then for international payments, you can either do them, so you can add them into the pay run with the same domestic payments. And there's a small fee attached to every international payment, because obviously nobody can do international payments for free, but we're at 0.3% on top. And those can be done in 34 different currencies. Raymond, it might be good for you to potentially book in a quick tour. We also have a poll, which I'll launch at the same time. We're going through the Q&A if we want to follow up on that. So let me just launch that while I think about it. And then what we'll do is we'll follow up whoever wants to chat a little bit more and see how we can help. Cool. So Lara, can we have a quick tour at the expense part of AutoEntry? What I can do is let's just cover a couple of these questions, see if we've got a little bit of time, and Brian can potentially reach out afterwards, or we can jump through into it just after. With AutoEntry, if your clients have more than one bank account or credit cards, is there an easy way to split the purchase invoices into different accounts?
Yes. So again, you could use the line item function that's there. As I said, you can create manual line items, so we don't have to do the extraction for you. And essentially, you could use one line for one data point within the accounts package, and the other line would obviously be the other data point or the other account. AutoEntry has a mark as paid function, so when we publish it through, that it'll be already highlighted within the accounts package that it is already paid. We don't actually do payments though, so we're very much just the raw piece of data, and we'll get it into your accounts package. We'll categorize it in VAT codes and everything else, so it'll be useful once it's there. But something like payments or splitting it to different accounts, I'd say if you use the line item function just to split it out into two lines, and you'll be able to manage that payment then within the accounts.
Perfect. And then a last one from Paul. We currently use Sage Desktop, Sage 50 Desktop. When we last looked at AutoEntry a few days, you could only write invoice ref field, but we now need to write the details field so that we can record our purchase order number against the supplier invoice. Is that possible with Sage? Is it possible, second question, is it possible with Xero QuickBooks, or do you plan to integrate with Zoho Books? Quick fire at you there.
So part 1/3, part 2 second. I know with Sage 50, the reference field that you can fill in. We do have an option now. I'm not sure if it was there, Paul, when you were trying us a few years ago. You do have the option on where, when the descriptor or when the note field is filled in AutoEntry, there's the option on which field it goes to in Sage. My knowledge of Sage 50 is not 100%, so I can't remember the name of the fields that it goes to. But I know when you integrate to Sage 50, you can select which field we publish that information to. Other option is possible with Xero or QuickBooks. I know we can't change the field that it goes to with Xero QuickBooks, but the notification or the details field can be filled in there as well.
There is an option with Xero, isn't there, to select the purchase order? I think there is a purchase order field.
There is a purchase order matching. So if you have an open purchase order in Xero or QuickBooks, you can match this invoice off to that invoice.
Yeah.
And do we plan to link with Zoho Books? I don't think so. I'm not aware, unfortunately.
Cool. Amazing. So yeah, we've just got the one with Lara. I don't know if you want to show quickly the expense side if you got something. If not, we can maybe reach out offline. I don't know
The,
how.
the expenses side is pretty cool, but it's actually quite in depth. So I'd nearly say if you want to pop us a mail or drop us a message, we'll get one of our team to organize a proper call with you. It can take about 10-15 minutes just for expenses. But I'd say if you get onto us, we'll arrange one of our guys to get back onto you and they'll do a live demo would be the best thing.
Awesome. Cool. I think that's covered everything. So thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. We'll reach out to anybody that's pushed on the poll. We'll also send out the recording in a couple of days' time, just so you can have that online. And then I'm sure it will be posted on both of our websites and our socials for anybody who wants to have a quick tour.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Nice to
very
meet
much,
everyone.
guys.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone.